No hate, no hype, no fear. We are TFR Frequency Radio.
Welcome. We are broadcasting live from the mothership. You are tuned in and listening to Starseed Energy Radio with your host Jonah Bolt. Starseed Energy Radio, where you can always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. Starseed Energy Radio goes live in 3, 2, 1.
All right, what's up, Spaceship Earth? Thanks for tuning in. You are now receiving a live transmission from Starseed Radio, where you could always tune in to hear the colors and see the music. I'm your host, Jonah Bolt, the Octorian Starseed, and today is Thursday, October 15th, 2015. We have a great show lined up for you today. We are joined by our very own Ryan Matthew Dernick for the Daily Download. And then we're going to jump to two very special guests who are also joining us, who are currently going across the country. We have Paradiso and Rasamayi joining us on the show, talking about some sound healing and New Earth and all sorts of amazing good things that are headed to planet Earth's way very soon in a theater near you. We're also going to be covering the top headlines, and if you haven't checked out starseedradio.com for the latest news and updates, please do. We're always posting up new articles, new information, pictures, graphs, everything you need to stay informed as best you can. As well as please check out starseedtechnologies.com. If you haven't received your free piece of Elite Shungite, it's an amazing quantum healing stone. Please email us, fill out the form on the website, or you can call toll-free 888-400-2328. And just also want to mention as well, if you haven't signed up for your free gold savings account, check out starseedgold.com and contact me directly. I want to speak to everyone who is interested in signing up so I can explain and go over this amazing new system that we were just talking about over the last week that we've learned about. And we're going to be joined by some guests next week that are going to be talking more about the gold savings platform that is now available to everybody for free. So it's pretty amazing. Check out starseedgold.com or email me direct, jonahbolt@gmail.com. All right, with that, going to get started with the daily quote of the day. Chivalry never died. The gentleman and most men did. Being male is a matter of birth. Being a man is a matter of age. But being a gentleman is a matter of choice. That quote, the Knights of the Free Company. I'll post that up on starseedradio.com. Couldn't have said it better myself. Very few gentlemen around these days that I've seen in these parts, especially here in South Florida. Ryan, you know that. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
How are you doing today?
Doing great, thank you. Sorry we missed you all week, but we know that you have been working hard and not hardly working, so it's good to have you back.
Yes, as you have as well, Jonah. We're both very busy individuals, and I appreciate being back on the show.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you. Yeah, we are definitely nonstop, 7 days a week, 16 hours a day. But I love what I'm doing, being of service, helping people, and you are too, brother. So it's really good to have you back on and
Thank you,
cruising through the universe with you on this big rock they call Earth. So with that, let's get started with the daily download, please. What is happening on Mother Gaia around the planet today?
Most definitely. Well, growing sunspot AR2434 is crackling with minor C-class solar flares, and it actually could produce a stronger eruption. The sunspot's beta-gamma magnetic field harbors energy for an M-class flare, and NOAA forecasters are estimating about a 30% chance of such an eruption today at some point in time. Right now, as the Earth is passing through a stream of solar wind flow from a gigantic coronal hole, this is buffeting the Earth, and the passage is sparking northern lights near and around the Arctic Circle, and there's been some fantastic shots, if you go on spaceweather.com, that were captured up near Alaska. So there's just some, other than that, there's nothing really that's in the offing in regards to solar activity. But in regards to seismic activity, there was a 4.7 magnitude earthquake 81 kilometers west-southwest of Oval, Chile, a 5.4 magnitude earthquake 22 kilometers east-northeast of Canar, Ecuador, a 4.5 magnitude earthquake 65 kilometers south of Tomatlan, Mexico, and a 4.5 33 kilometers east-northeast of Nemuro, Japan. Now, in regards to other interesting news, over the weekend, I don't know if you heard about this, Jonah, but North Korean leader paraded, and
Oh, boy.
he says he's ready for anything that the West has to do. He called the West the imperialist United States, and he said he parades with missiles over the weekend.
He's actually sort of true, but go ahead.
This is true, yes, and he's ready for any war with the United States. So he also he had a full fanfare event, and this was commemorating the 70th anniversary of the separation between North and South Korea. And basically, what this says is that North Korea is ready to just go for broke. And this comes on the heels, if you remember, about a month ago, where there was what North Korea said there was a miscommunication between the North and the South, and that they were blaring loudspeakers telling the South Koreans to stop disseminating or spreading propaganda that was not true, when we know that propaganda is very true, that North Korea is a totalitarian dictatorship and that they oppress their people very much so, and that there's also a humanitarian crisis there and how much they do oppress their people in that area. But also they had amongst some of the people that were there, China sent Liu, who was a senior Communist Party official, not a head of state or even a vice premier, but nonetheless, they were really in great support of North Korea and the fact that they are connected to the Chinese mainland. This just shows an upping of the ante, so to speak, because this is also going on. If you look at other things going on in the world right now, with China warning the U.S. against a maritime challenge, and as we've been talking about for months, Jonah, about the building up of armaments, where they actually created islands, the Spratly Islands, and dredged those in the South China Sea.
Leave it to the Chinese, man. They can make anything, I swear.
They really can, and we buy a lot of our manufactured goods do come from China, but China has warned the U.S. against the maritime challenge. A planned U.S. naval mission to skirt a group of artificial islands, which I just spoke of, is the latest escalation of rhetoric from Beijing. A senior Chinese Navy officer on Thursday warned the U.S. that China's military would give a head-on blow, I quote, to foreign services violating China's sovereignty. Rear Admiral Yang Yi, writing in the Global Times, a Beijing newspaper with close links to the ruling Communist Party, said, safeguarding maritime rights calls for the force and power. And so this comes again in the past 2 years as China has dredged about 2,000 acres of small coral atolls in the South China Sea, creating about a half a dozen islands, which basically are named Fiery Cross Reef, has about 3,000 meter runway, apparently, which is capable of definitely handling military jets if they were to do some kind of a tactical airborne offensive in the possibility that the U.S. is going to make a pass at these islands. And then this comes on also other news domestically in the United States. The Treasury is warning Congress that the debt limit now, the deadline, we've heard this for years, the debt ceiling. And if you're a government employee at certain levels, you sometimes will go on furlough, which means you don't get pay for that time. And now the Treasury Department said on Thursday, and they told Congress that it needs to act by November 3rd, or the government will be dangerously close to being unable to pay all its bills. Basically not being able to pay its debt either. So this is just something else that we have to keep in mind. And at the same time, Obama, even though he said for his first, when he was president, his first 4 years, that he was going to pull out and have troop withdrawals, if we remember this, by 2012. Well, Obama now outlines a plan to keep 5,500 troops in Afghanistan. This basically counters what he said, and he actually says that the troops will be kept in Afghanistan into 2017. And honestly, let's be honest, the next president will come in next November and will be sworn in, and then I'm sure that they will perpetuate and keep troops there indefinitely, because we have over 100 bases around the world that are keeping countries in check, because that's really how we have
bases in 150 countries.
Correct, Jonah. Correct. And so what this is just keeping areas in check. And I will not disagree. There are radical factions.
Keeping areas in check is a light way of putting it.
Yes, in a light way, because fear, when it's physically there, is the greatest deterrent, especially when you have a large, a mass group of troops that are concentrated at a base. Now, this is just showing that the situation is becoming more and more unstable in the Middle East, and at the same time, Netanyahu is saying that Abbas is basically creating propaganda and falsities about certain instances in regards to deaths. So what you're seeing is a total destabilization, as we talked about, Jonah, for years now, that the Middle East would eventually succumb to, because war begets war. If you create a conflict, every action, like physics, every action causes an equal opposite reaction. If you want to look at it like physics, like Newton's laws, because Newton is a perfect way to really analogize or make an analogy to how war just compounds on top of more war. And that's really what the globalists are about at the end of the day, is war makes money for a very select few group of people. Now, we've been covering this topic. I talked about this last week about global warming. Despite what some people believe, that global warming doesn't exist. I'm sorry. Global warming does exist. It's scientifically proven. This isn't some globalist agenda. Okay, I know that people think it's a cap and trade agenda, that they want to stymie business. That's not true. We have to change our ways of business. But now they're showing in a new study that bubble plumes of methane are escaping the warming oceans, and this is the sign of when you have escaping oceans. I recommend reading Galileo Syndrome, which is a great book, and it talks just to this. And now sonar image is showing a bubble plume rising off the seafloor off the coast of Washington State. This is interesting also because why? We've been talking about off the Cascadia subduction zone, the Juan de Fuca plate off the Pacific Northwest, which runs for about 700 miles off the coastline from British Columbia down to the northern coastlines of California. What could happen there is a large critical slip of the fault, which does happen periodically every 300 or so years. This could be also a precursor showing the methane venting off that coastline, that maybe an earthquake, a large earthquake, could be in the offing. I'm not predicting it. I'm just making observations. I don't jump to conclusions. I look at observations. So the most infamous and abundant greenhouse gases, carbon dioxide specifically, but less prolific, is methane. And actually, what it actually packs is a meaner climate warming punch. Though some climate scientists and anyone concerned about global warming, there appears to be a new and growing concern of methane being released deep in the sea. And these methane are released in the form of methane hydrates. Why? Methane hydrates are basically frozen methane at the sea floor because it's so cold and you have such immense pressures under the weight of oceans that it's released in small bubble plumes that eventually grow over time. What this will also do is increase the greenhouse effect of trapping more and more heat in our atmosphere. And that's really the reason, Jonah, why they're doing the chemtrails. That's a form of geoengineering. They're trying to reflect more sunlight into the out into the away from the Earth.
And I would agree with that, but it's way more than that. We found multidimensional nanofibers in there. We found they're using it for multiple things.
Multiple reasons.
People sick, sell them drugs. Pharmaceutical companies are bought into the chemtrail.
You have aluminum dioxide, these particulates that are released in the chemtrails
exactly.
as well. And you see the correlation as well to what? Increases in autism, increases in mental disorders. Because if you increase, and also increases in dementia and Alzheimer's, because if you increase heavy metals, a U.S. Department of Agriculture, Miss Peterson, you can Google this, she actually did a study on this in a seminar talking about how these particles matriculate from the atmosphere down into the soil from the sky, and that actually, yes, we ingest them, animals ingest them.
Oh yeah, I've had scientists on the show, Ryan. They've done tests all over the world. There's not 1 inch of the earth that has not been sprayed by chemtrails. They've covered the whole planet. And when it comes to the agenda and the global warming, I mean, this is planet Earth. Things heat up, things cool down. That's what it is. No big deal. It's like, what's the big deal? Like green, global warming, global cooling. It's Earth, man. It goes up and down. What do you expect? It's not such a big deal. I mean, if we're affecting it, that's a whole other story, which we are. That has to stop. Mother Gaia is a living being consciousness.
Most definitely.
This planet is alive, so are the trees, so are the animals, everything. So that's the reason why we have to stop this shenanigans. Just another fun fact for you before we wrap up, Ryan, is the U.S. has blown $400 billion on the latest fighter jet. I know you know which one I'm talking about.
Most definitely.
Yeah, $400 billion, and they can't even get the jet running. $400 billion, and that's enough money to buy every homeless person in America a $664,000 mansion. Just to give you perspective how much waste.
And this coincides with the fact that now $100 million is being appropriated by California and Los Angeles because the ever-growing homelessness issue and the tent cities that have been growing over the last decade or so in and around LA. So
this is why I wanted to build self-sustainable communities for the homeless.
I agree.
I still want to do it. I met with the mayor of Asheville, congressman's office, city hall. I'm still pushing that project. We need to build sustainable communities for the homeless so they can have their own communities and work and live in their communities just like they're doing in the tent cities. Same scenario, except we can help build infrastructure so we could feed them, clothe them, water, and have them self-govern in these communities rather than living in these tent cities under bridges and stuff. It's time for us to bring it in.
And actually, the Game of Thrones is actually be someone close to your family.
Game of Thrones person of the day.
That you're familiar with in regards to your proposed buildings and your proposed infrastructure that you want to help people to live a better life is Buckminster Fuller.
Yes.
You know, Bucky and your family definitely knows Bucky and has been affiliated with him. A very ingenious individual and very forward thinking. And forward thinking is really what's going to innovate and what's going to propel us into the future, and not only as a species but as a consciousness, energetic collective.
Oh, thank you, brother. Yes, Buckminster Fuller, great Game of Thrones person of the day, and as I always quote Bucky, is. You don't go against the existing system that is not working. You create the new system to make the old one obsolete. And that is what we're doing here and everywhere with all the light workers and star seeds and people shining bright light all across the planet. And a shout out to me, Dad, who used to work with Buckminster Fuller. Bucky was an advisor to my father's company.
Yes.
And if you check starseedradio.com, you'll see some baby pictures with me and Bucky. It's pretty cool. But yes, I have to agree. Game of Thrones person day, Buckminster Fuller. Thank you for your guidance. And thank you, Ryan, for the daily download. Check out Ryan's blog and also his feed on Starseed Radio, or you can check bellwetherpost.com.
Thank you,
Ryan,
Jenna.
thank you so much. Have a great day, brother. I'll talk to you later.
You the same.
Yes, thank you.
You as well. Bye.
And now we're going to jump to our special guests of the show. We're joined by two very special beings. Their website is onlinesoundhealing.com. You could find out and read more about them. Paradiso and Rasamayi are internationally renowned sound healers with back-to-back Best New Age Album of the Year awards and an additional 4 critically acclaimed, award-nominated, and international radio chart-topping albums. These two are traveling across the country and around the world to bring light and love through the vibration of sound. And with that, I want to welcome them both to the show. Good day to you both. How are you?
Good afternoon.
How are you, Jonah? Blessings to you.
Good. Excellent. Thank you both for coming on. And where are you guys currently located at? Last time I spoke to you was in a different place. Where are you now?
We're in Bay City, Michigan at the moment.
All right. Well, shout out to Michigan and Bay City. And if the two of you would, give us a little background, a little story, if you would. Did you both have a sudden awakening? Maybe the story of how you found each other, being twin flames. I know for me, my awakening was sudden 6 years ago. The lights just sort of came on, and I just radically made a shift and left the old world and ventured into the new world. Can you go a little bit into your guys' story and how you first, came together and formed this amazing musical alliance?
Jonah, my awakening is back in 97. I actually heard the didgeridoo for the first time at a Whole Life Expo in San Francisco. And the gentleman was playing around a person's body. And at that time, I didn't know anything about energy or spirituality, but I noticed something different about that person's body. It was changing. Their body reactions was just being more and more relaxed. So I had a short little session, and that night I went to sleep. I had a dream, and was these 12 elders that came into my dream time. And this lasted for 3 months, these dreams.
And I'm sure that this audience, sweetheart, would love to hear who those 12 beings were.
Yes, these 12 beings, people say, oh, are they, these are basically gods from different planets. And they told me that this is the instrument that you're going to be working with. This is your life purpose. And told me techniques of how vibration and sound waves enter into the body, into the mind, the body, and the spirit, and to help people find themselves. So, yeah, I mean, it was just such an opening. And then 8 years ago, I met my beloved light, Rasamayi. Actually, 9 years now.
Time keeps moving forward.
And Rasamayi, if you would share your journey as well, please.
Yeah. Well, for me, there were several dramatic, if not one, earth-shattering experiences. The first happened when I was in silent meditation. I was focused on an image of the green Tara, and I was able to experience complete quiet within and without for just an instant. And that made it possible for me to hear the primordial Om, which was a sound so deep that I realized as I was hearing it that it couldn't be heard with the ears, and so loud that in looking back, I understand all of the spiritual texts that say that if you truly hear the voice of God, your physical body can be instantly destroyed or rebirthed, because it was so loud. I had the understanding that if I were to fully hear this, that I wouldn't be able to stay in my body anymore. That thought, my eyes flew open upon realizing that, and I could actually see physical reality for the veil of illusion that it is. It was a profound experience, and it was also frightening enough because I was still very attached to material reality as the ultimate expression of reality, that I stopped meditating for a while until I walked into a sound session with Paradiso and 2 bowl players, and it was the only thing that I had ever heard that came close to what I heard in my meditation. But it was gentle enough that I could be in its presence without having my attachments overly stretched. So I was able to sit down, and I went into the breathless state. And that was the beginning of my love affair with my beloved Paradiso and with sacred sound. And we've been doing pretty much nothing but that ever since.
That's great, and what an amazing story. Thank you both for sharing that. And I know for myself, when I first got introduced to sound healing and vibration. I was traveling with the guys from Crystal Tones for a while about 5 years ago, and went to the International Gem Show and learned more about crystal bowls and singing bowls. And I remember just, oh my God, going to such states of high vibration by playing those. I had a nice set myself. I think I had 10 bowls at one time, and just moldavite bowls and all these different, minerals that put out specific frequencies that interact with our body and our field in certain ways that actually regenerate, heal. I mean, amazing things. And even hospitals now are using crystal bowls, even here in Miami. They called crystal tones to go and play them for people in comas. And, when you see and hear things like that, it's amazing that people are even open to that, and doctors are moving that direction. So it's really amazing work you guys are doing, is taking this sound and vibration and healing to so many people, and it's great work. So thank you both for your service and for your work and what you do, which is your passion, your life mission, obviously, like mine. So it's not really work. It's just, being of service and being light and taking that sound and vibration to the people to help transform and be of service to their transformation. So it's great.
Absolutely. And a big shout out to Vibes 1111. We were hosted there last year. It's a beautiful temple of light. Paradiso and I, as Fifth Element Music, are actually Crystal Tones' largest traveling temple. We travel with 32 alchemy crystal singing bowls that are part of our set, plus the world's largest crystal didgeridoo and several other crystal didgeridoos, as well as usually around 50 other crystal bowls that are available. They're looking for their forever bowl.
Actually, hang on right there. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
Let me tell you all the things organically grown hemp yields. Jack Herring tried to tell us. Waking up the masses with Robert Bruce, Monday through Thursday on Truth Frequency Radio.
Hello, citizens of America. We are anonymous, and we have been observing as your country's leaders have lied to you and placed your freedom and your constitutional rights into jeopardy. We are very disappointed about this, and we have decided to take steps against what you are facing. The world is watching America. We are also watching. We are anonymous. We are legion. We do not forgive. We do not forget. Expect us.
All right, welcome back to the show. You're listening to Starseed Radio. Check out starseedradio.com for the latest news and updates. We're joined by two very special guests bringing amazing sound healing to the masses across the planet. I see here also that you guys were in Delray Beach not so long ago at the Crystal Garden, so a shout out to Delray. That's right where I'm at. And we're joined by Paradiso and Rasamayi, and they are in Michigan right now going cross-country tour. And before we went to commercial break, Rasamayi, we sort of cut you off a little bit, so I wanted just to let you finish what you were saying, please.
Well, I think I was pretty well done. We were just talking about crystal tones, and that, crystal tones makes the alchemy bowls that are the highest frequency tool that can be used by anyone within just a few minutes. And that Paradiso and I, as Fifth Element Music, are the world's largest traveling temple. I also have the honor of being named Crystal Tone's first alchemy master teacher. So we are definitely having divine fun in our service.
Let's give a shout out to Paul and Lapido. Shout out to those guys, and hope they're doing well. I know they're just down here in Florida as well. So if people aren't familiar with what crystal bowls are, just check out Google, go to YouTube, or you could even go to the guest website, which is onlinesoundhealing.com. There's some videos on there that show the didgeridoos. Now, I see on here there's a crystal didgeridoo. That's the first time I've ever seen one of those. Paradiso, can you tell us a little bit about the crystal didgeridoo?
Oh, yeah. Well, when we first met the alchemy singing bowls, okay, Lepido came to me and said, "Well, Rasamayi, well, Paradiso, I have something for you." And he said it's been locked up in the closet for years, and no one has been able to play it. And so he goes, "I have a feeling that you may be able to play it." So, so when I played it, it really changed my way of playing. The crystalline of the crystal didgeridoo took me to another place how I usually play the didgeridoo. And basically, it was an incredible opening for myself. And so I was able to buy that crystal didgeridoo. It's a 100% quartz crystal. It is quite amazing once you hear it. That everyone says that when they hear it, they can't even explain the sound. It'll fill up any room and any huge place that we would play. It's doing the need to mic it, which is fantastic.
It's an incredible activator, to be sure. And those frequencies are captured on our last two CDs, Attuning to Oneness and Celestial Resonance.
The Third Eye Rising.
I remember when I was out in Tucson with Lepido and Crystal Tones and those guys, and I actually slept in their sound temple they had. I think they had over 2,000 crystal bowls, and I spent, I think, like over 2 weeks with them out there. It was just amazing, the different vibrational frequencies you could pick up from each individual bowl. It was just the size of it, the mineral was used, to make it. It was just, it was mind blowing. I loved it, and I still have one to this day, and should probably play it more. But if you guys could take a few minutes for the listeners out there that aren't familiar with sound healing and vibration and crystal bowls, if you could talk a little bit about the metaphysical side to it, the side that dives a little deeper into explaining what do these crystal bowls actually do to a person when they hear it? What do they actually do to a person when you're around a crystal bowl or a crystal didgeridoo when you play it?
Well, there are many layers to that question, Jonah. It's a wonderful question. First off, it's important to notice that both didgeridoos and singing bowls of all types have a speak-in harmonic overtones, which has a really special effect on human brainwave activity. It brings us into theta brainwave activity for most people within 2 minutes and for virtually everyone within 10, which means that we are able to enjoy the benefits of the deepest states of meditation, which most people don't have the time and or discipline to devote hours a day for years to being able to get there reliably for themselves. So harmonic overtones help them get there very reliably and very quickly. We love that Paradiso works with the didgeridoo because it is visually a very poetic representation of the divine masculine, whereas the singing bowls, their nature is to be a container, to be a vessel. They are symbolic of the womb and the divine feminine. And so when you bring the two together, they create a synergistic whole energetically that's far greater than even each of the parts individually. There's, so much to be said about crystalline technology. Many of us remember other times and other realities in which crystalline energy was understood to such a deep degree that it made all other technologies obsolete. And so, mindfully moving forward with how we use crystalline technology is a really important part of humanity and Earth's evolution. When I am prescribing alchemy bowls for people, for example, it's not just about what megahertz the bowl is singing in. It's not just about what gems and minerals are added to the clear quartz crystal. It's also about the unique consciousness of each individual bowl and how that romance, that divine romance, will move forward in between the human being and the bowl being. I call it a bowl mate connection. So
when you talk about the crystalline technology, just to go in a little bit more, we're talking about the ancient Antlionian, Lumerian, Mao technology, that they had a much more advanced understanding than what we have today.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
that's probably because the entire civilization and groups back then were all consciously aware of these technologies, which allowed them to dive deeper into the realms of sound and vibration, because so many of the light workers back then were tuned into that and were open to that and aware. So they had a much better understanding collectively and communally than what we have today. But what you guys are doing is just that, is bringing back the old school. You're bringing back, the old into the new again. It's we're remembering more and more, and helping our star brothers and sisters remember more of this this amazing time that we're living in, where these new old technologies are coming back that are allowing us to take this and heal people and teach people, and in turn help heal the planet and then ourselves. And it's amazing work. Talk about some of the if you can, festivals, some shows, some concert you guys done. If you would, give us some examples of maybe even some ceremonies that you have taken part in, and talk a little bit about the ceremonial aspects of the sound healing and crystal bowls, which I'm sure you all have partaked in before, correct?
Oh, absolutely. Last year we were on the road for 40 weeks with an average of 5.5 offerings per week. So, and every time we enter into the sacred sound current, we consider that a sacred ceremony, because we are channeling in the vibrations as translated into sound, find their soul gifts, expand their consciousness, and let go of any energies that no longer serve them. We have been delighted to have performed at a number of amazing festivals, but our usual venues are New Thought churches and yoga centers, some metaphysical bookstores, and other kinds of healing and spiritual centers.
Now, I know you.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you both have been through the Asheville area, where for years before I moved down to Costa Rica a couple of years ago. And the Asheville area is high vibrational vortexes, amazing energy there. And that's sort of where I first even saw a didgeridoo. Paradiso, if you can give us a little background on the didgeridoo, the ancient, tool that has been used for a very long time, I believe, by the Aborigines and other tribes. Can you give us a little history on the didgeridoo and its ancient, background?
Yeah.
How far back?
Well, it's definitely an ancient instrument. It's the Aborigines have used them for over 40,000 years, and they use it for dream time. And dream time is when our bodies are, go into the dream time space out of the body, and in that space, everything's there. Every book has been written. Every note has been played. So it's really the idea now is for us to grab that for ourselves. And so the didgeridoo is really back 40,000 years. Okay, it's made out of eucalyptus and boarded out with termites. And the painting is most of the didgeridoos are from the dyes of the earth. So that's how they paint their didgeridoos. But now, I mean, we are ready to move into that crystalline, the didgeridoo. I remember seeing lifetimes that we have used different types of horns, like the didgeridoo, and they were crystal. And the idea is for us not to come in and just try to not to bring the ego into that realm, because we've done that in many lifetimes. And so it's time for us to realize to come from the heart with love and bring that vibration out into the crystalline beings.
Yeah,
it is important for everyone who's doing this kind of work to embrace the understanding that sound is the creative tool of the universe. You look at spiritual texts from all around the world and across time, and it's always sound, which infinite, divine, or collective consciousness, however we relate to that infinite power and potential. It is sound by which all of this was created from the void. From the one consciousness vibrating with itself, being expressed into this seemingly infinite variety of the material reality. And it is sound that in the end will bring us home again, and will in the meantime help us to be living with ourselves and with all of the divine reflections of ourselves in the most harmonious possible manner from moment to moment.
And when you enter into that sacred sound, okay, that oneness comes in, so you are everything. A lot of people say oneness, but do you actually believe that you are one? Okay, so you were saying about portholes and about vortexes. Well, the idea is for us to know that you are it. You are that vortex. You don't need to go to an area of the land. Just connect with it.
Because we're each of us expressions of the infinite, so that vortex is everywhere.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And if you could also give a little bit about the future of your guys' journey. What are some upcoming events? What are some places where people you could recommend to experience crystal bowls and sound healing, and maybe even some online meditation crystal bowls that listeners hearing this can experience? Do you have any particular websites or recommendations? I know you all have videos on your website, but are there some other websites and events and other things like that people can check out that are up and coming, or places people can go now to experience and hear didgeridoos and crystal bowls?
Well, it is our blessing to be able to serve in abundance. The flip side of that, as you well know, as someone devoted to service, is that there usually isn't a whole lot of time left over to investigate other people's work. And so, definitely we can recommend Jonathan Goldman. He has a beautiful website with a number of different amazing experiences. We do our best to make a wide variety of offerings possible on onlinesoundhealing.com. Our touring for the year is almost over. We have 2 more workshops and 3 more sacred sound sessions in Bay City, Kalamazoo, and Des Moines. And then once we get home, we're going to have a couple of events in Kansas, and we'll be offering some webinars over the winter. And, as far as the collective future of sacred sound, when we place current Earth in the larger framework of the big linear time wave, we just notice that there are the high points of the age of energy and the low points of the age of dense materialism. And we're entering ever more fully into that higher frequency where we're going to be able to relate to higher consciousness, finer frequency, and it's just a real honor to be serving that impetus at this very special time on this very special planet.
Now, for listeners out there that want to experience crystal bowls in person, what are some recommendations for that? Because I know there's a lot of listeners out there that probably want to experience and see this. Are there any recommendations where people can go? You talked about crystal temples. Can you go a little bit more into that?
Yeah, there are crystal tones temples all over the earth. You can go to crystaltones.com or crystalsingingbowls.com for more information on that. You've already mentioned the Tucson Gem Show, and I have really fond memories of spending actually 5 weeks sleeping in that same room with thousands of bowls. Tucson Gem Show
awesome.
is a great mecca to make. For those who don't have the time or for whatever reason have other limitations that they can't travel to a Crystal Tones temple, that's why we are doing the work we are doing to bringing sacred sound and crystalline technology to people where they live.
Excellent. Thank you for that. And definitely people and listeners out there that have not checked out the Tucson Gem Show, it is an amazing show. I actually received my crystal skull there from Leandro, one of the top crystal skull makers, and just amazing people. I know Alex Gray usually goes there every year and does his thing, and just awesome high vibrational people. It's not just about the crystals, it's about the networking and the people there, and just all the love and intent that people put into these amazing stones. And there's also amazing stones that people have probably never seen, talking about meteorites and other just stuff I've never even seen before was there. It was really mind-blowing.
Definitely.
I couldn't believe some of the meteors. They knew what galaxies they came from, and just so cool. It was really an eye-opener for me on just how much is out there, really, when it comes to minerals and conscious beings and stones. So that's a highly recommended show for everybody out there. What has the response been from the didgeridoo and crystal bowls? I know obviously everyone is always relaxed in this. Have you had anyone had some real real awakenings, some real breakthroughs? Can you tell us a story or two about a specific event or something where someone really had a big breakthrough that you could share with everybody?
Well, Jonah, how much time do we have?
Yeah, right. That's a great answer. We have about 6 minutes left. So.
Well, I mean, usually every single sound healing we do, there's usually someone have a breakthrough. But people have actually within a sacred sound healing, life change as they found their life purpose. Tumors has left, and even like muscle issue gone. It's amazing how much people come up to us and tell us stories. I know Rasamayi has lots of stories, and
I mean, and it so depends on where people are in their lives. I mean, we hear of at least one big breakthrough after or at every single sound session. For some people, just relaxing is a major accomplishment, and so we're happy to be able to serve them in that. But we've also heard about people who have heard directly from their angels, loved ones who have passed out of these bodies, guides, masters, speaking audibly to them in the middle of a sound session. Other people have had more practical applications. They have come in because, and it's interesting, there are two people who came to us because they had failed a qualifying exam twice already. We're about to take the third qualifying exam. One was for the bar, one was for real estate license. And they came to us hoping that a session would help them to focus and tap into universal consciousness enough that they would now be able to pass their tests. And in fact, they both did. So there's such a range when you're talking about tapping into the infinite creative tool of material reality. There's literally no limit on what can be accomplished in that space.
Absolutely, and that is why here at Starseed Radio, and why what you all are doing is so important, is bringing back the old to the new, what we said earlier, and allowing people to allow themselves to have these breakthroughs. We are just the facilitators of the I am. You know, it's the Ubuntu. I am because you are. I am because we are. Mm-hmm. And the more people understand and embrace that, and our star brothers and sisters have these breakthroughs and awaken, the greater this reality will manifest to a brighter future. And despite a lot of the wars and everything else that's happening, once we reach critical mass and the 100th monkey effect kicks in, then, you know, that's what we're going for. And that's on the horizon. We see that more and more every day with the current systems breakdown, and that just gives us the opportunity to bring in the new technologies and the new sound healing and the new system. And that's how I see it. So It's very exciting times. Yes, and very exciting times we're living in. And we have a couple minutes left, so if you all would please give out some information. I gave out your website, but are there any other ways people can connect with you? Facebook, Twitter, email? How can people get newsletters, support, videos, YouTube, anything like that?
Absolutely. OnlineSoundHealing.com is our main resource. That's where our tour schedule is. Both those who are wanting to attend a sound session and anyone who might want to host a sound session. We're both on Facebook individually, Paradiso Terdarisi and Rasamayi Terdarisi, or you can find our fan page at Paradiso and Rasamayi on Facebook. My cell phone number is 310-924-2660 if anyone has questions or wants to learn more about crystalline sound. And we're just so grateful to be here serving the one, and so grateful to you, Jonah, for holding that space in such a significant way.
Oh, thank you so much, and thank you both for the service you're doing and for the light you're bringing, and for being teachers and at the same time being students, as we all are, as we are reemerging the Jedi Order of the planet and the Magi Order of the planet, and the balance is coming back to the planet. It's amazing to watch it unfold and take part in that. What an honored time we all are living here on planet Earth. So thank you both so much for coming on and for all the service you're doing. OnlineSoundHealing.com, and good luck and safe travels on your journeys. We'll have you back.
Look at the Gulf of Japan, could they have really planned it? Heading for the iceberg like the Titanic. Atlantic mystery, Atlantis white from history. The truth about